Privyet, Druzia. Hello, friends. It's me, Catherine Ivers Norton, the author of The Stain. It's November 23rd, 2021. And when we left off last, Cassandra had made dinner for Ilya, and they started a friendship. The following day, she cannot write. She has severe writer's block, so she ends up finding a book that her mom gave her on her wedding day, filled with traditional Russian recipes, and she spends the next 3 weeks learning how to cook Russian cuisine. And she surprises Sergei on his return home from Hong Kong with like an 8-course meal, and which he loves, and he feels very loved by that, by that gesture. They reconcile, and things are pretty good. So then we pick up in chapter 10, which is titled "Don't Drink Vodka with Russians." And see what happens now. My social world began to open up as guests arrived for weekend visits. Sergei was proud of my newly developed hostess skills, and I loved the house coming alive with people. I had plenty of help catering to the needs of our guests. Beluka and her 3 daughters did most of the work. Among our first guests were Pyotr and Lena Orlova. Pyotr was a short, dumpy-looking, middle-aged man with a receding hairline and muddy brown eyes. He was swiftly building a fortune as an import-exporter. What he lacked in looks, he made up in personality. His ability to read people and diffuse tension with humor put me at ease right away. Pyotr's plainness contrasted sharply with his younger wife, Lena, a tall, raven-haired beauty with velvety, midnight blue eyes and masterfully chiseled features. Everything about her dripped money, from the designer clothing and flashy gold and diamond jewelry she wore to her perfect makeup and poise. She always seemed to look like she just stepped off a fashion magazine cover. Once we discovered we both spoke French, I quickly warmed to her free spirit and saucy sense of humor, which she revealed only to her closest friends. She was intelligent, educated, and curious about life in the United States. She asked many questions about how I met Sergei, our relationship, and the circumstances that brought me here. Lena took me on as a project, coaching me in Russian etiquette and teaching me how to enjoy a life of wealth and leisure. She took quickly to horseback riding, mounting and dismounting easily with her long legs. Lena rode like she was born on the back of a horse, and her newfound love of riding kept her coming back to visit. We always spoke French, even though I could have used practice with Russian, and she knew some English as well. Conversing in French was one of the things that made our relationship special. Having a friend took some pressure off Sergei, who began to relax and trust me a little more. We started taking more day trips to the city to shop, dine, and visit friends. St. Petersburg is a city known for a vast sea of apartment complexes. The older apartment buildings appeared utilitarian and dismal, reminding me of the housing projects for poor people back home in the States. Newer, more attractive buildings offered larger dwellings and more amenities. There were few, if any, single-family homes within the city. People with money seemed to combine multiple apartments or repurpose former office spaces into larger, modern homes for themselves. There were no exclusively wealthy or crime-ridden poor neighborhoods. I found this admirable, but I also wondered how long that would last as the economic gaps continued to grow. Russia was becoming more like the United States, and with that would come some of the same problems. Lena and Pyotr lived in a secure neighborhood for the ultra-rich, well outside the city. Not many people knew about this exclusive community. The enclave was hard to find and completely concealed behind a wall of trees and privacy fencing. The entrance was gated and manned by armed guards 24 hours a day. Ilya stopped the Mercedes at the guardhouse, where a man checked our IDs against the Orlov's guest list for the evening. Once cleared, the gate opened and we drove in to see the elite neighborhood of mansions and meticulously kept grounds. The Orlov house was obscenely huge and extremely gaudy, with shiny gold services everywhere. Lena had to have the best of everything, even if the best was hideous. But who was I to judge? How people spent their money was not my concern. I brought her a bouquet and told her how much I loved her home. A white lie, perhaps, but I adored her, so the feeling was authentic. Lena was proud, and she loved to entertain. I couldn't be happier to be there. 30 guests attended this dinner party. We drank vodka right through all of the courses of the meal, stopping only for tea and dessert. Then the vodka came back out again, with everyone offering countless toasts to the hostess, to the ladies present, to Russia, and God knows what else. Once I accepted the first, I had to keep drinking the toast, or it would have been insulting to stop. I tried to pace myself, but they kept coming, and the vodka was getting the better of me. Although I was an experienced drinker, wine was my preferred choice. I was not used to hard liquor. I was getting smashed. After dinner, everyone gathered in the parlor. Some of the guests played instruments and sang while others danced. It was riotous fun. I understood Russian dialogue better and was finally beginning to feel like I fit in. I laughed along with the jokes and revelry. I certainly was not the only one feeling the effects of alcohol. I bummed a cigarette from someone without thinking. As I was taking my first drag, Sergei shot me a disapproving look from across the room. I waved to him with a guilty smile and kept smoking. He probably did not want the mother of his future children tarnished by the evils of tobacco. Hilarious! I was trashed on vodka and already as polluted as a person could get. I knew I wasn't pregnant because I failed another pregnancy test just that morning. It was becoming a depressing monthly ritual. The hope, the test, the disappointment. Sometimes I suspected Sergei planned his trip so he would be gone on my fertile days. If he had a regular job, we would be expecting our first child by now. I was young and healthy. My doctor in New York said I could have children anytime. It was his fault. The cigarette was almost gone, so I took one last drag and put it out. I turned my attention back to the party. Someone handed me another shot of vodka, and there was yet another toast, and I threw it back sloppily. I missed, and half of it splashed on my face and went down my chin. Oops. I wiped it away before anyone could notice. I looked around. Nobody cared. They were all drunk, laughing, and carrying on like frat boys and sorority girls at a college keg party. Even Sergei seemed uncharacteristically smashed. That man had an iron liver. He could drink like a hippopotamus and get a good buzz going, but I'd never seen him completely intoxicated. Was I projecting my condition onto him? Even drunk, I was still thinking about psychology. What a credit I am to my profession. I caught the tail end of a joke and laughed so hard I could not stop, giggling like a schoolgirl. The weight of a heavy hand suddenly pressed down on my right shoulder. I turned and looked up, surprised. It's time to go home, Sergei said sternly. He was not nearly as drunk as I imagined him to be. My attitude sobered quickly, although the rest of me could not. He was giving me the look. Sure, just give me a minute, I slurred. He knew where I was going and nodded. It was a long drive home with no rest stops along the way. He took my seat and watched as I left the room. I was dismayed to find the restroom occupied and someone else already waiting in line. I remembered Lena had another one near the garage, so I negotiated my way down the long hallway past the kitchen. It was quiet and cool at this end of the house. Thankfully, the door was open. I heard the door handle jostle as I was washing my hands. Just a minute, I sang out in English. Then came a knock on the door. Occupado! I sang out in Spanish, bursting into laughter because no Russian would get the joke. Of course, it's just something stupid Americans would say and not even a joke, but somehow that made it all the more amusing. I was a happy drunk. When I stepped out, no one was there. I made my way back down the long hall to the kitchen. As I passed an open door, someone reached out and grabbed my arm, drawing me gently into a pantry. Surprised, I looked up into the face of Slava Valkov. He put a finger to his lips and said, "Quiet, Cassandra. I just wanted to see you." He quickly closed the door behind me. My jaw dropped in disbelief. He gently put his right hand on my upper arm. "How is Sergei treating you? Are you okay?" He asked, genuinely concerned. I was so shocked I was unable to speak. I simply nodded and stared. "Good. You have a friend in me," he said. "Take my card. Call me if you ever are in trouble. I will help you." He seemed sincere. I did not know what to think of it. What are you doing here? I finally asked. You do not know? Piotr and Lena are good friends. I live near, he explained, waving his hand in the general direction. I took his card and carefully stashed it in my flirty red Chloe handbag. I looked back up at him and saw his eyes, now golden, framed by those long, seductive black eyelashes. I didn't feel the same level of animal attraction to him, although I would admit I still found him quite handsome. Slava was gazing at me as if he were in love. I was drunk and did not trust this observation. This man assaulted me in a laundry room a few months ago. How could he possibly have any feelings for me? I have to go, I said, and turned for the door. Wait, he requested. I paused and looked at him again. He cupped my chin gently with his hand and kissed me once lightly on the lips. It seemed so innocent. I am sorry. I love Sergei. That is why I married him. I can't have an affair with you, I explained. I turned again to go. Just as I reached the door, I heard a familiar voice in the hall. Sandra? Sergei's voice searched. He sounded worried. Let's stop there. I'll tell you what happened. So she's freaking out. She didn't want to get caught in the pantry with Slava. She wanted to be there. She knocks over a jar of pickles, makes noise. Sergei comes in, not happy. Bed scene, and she ends up vomiting and then passing out in Sergei's lap on the way home. So anyway, he's not at all pleased by this. He doesn't really believe her that nothing is going on, and this guy just keeps showing up. He had called the house while he was gone. And you have to wonder at this point, what are Slava's motivations? Like, why is Slava doing this? And I don't really know. When I first started writing the story in 2002, and it had a kind of different plot. And I was, doing the writer thing, and I had the detailed plot summary. I had, chapters lined out, what was going to happen and all. It was very organized, and I was overthinking it. And at some point, the plot derailed. The characters refused to do what I wanted them to do, and the book went dormant, and it sat for 13 years. And Christmas time 2014, I woke up from a dream where I had dreamt of the characters. And I just knew I was like filled with vigor. And I launched out of bed. I made some coffee. I ran to the computer, found the file. Thank God it opened, right? And I just started ripping out all the stuff that was wrong. And then I got to the base, and I just let it go. And I flowed into it. And the characters told me what they were doing. It just let them take over. So instead of me controlling writing, like, I don't know, control freak or something like that, I let the characters tell the story. So this story is truly Cassandra's story. It's not my story. It is her story, and it's in her voice, and it's about her. So this is her story. So as far as Sergei, Slava, and the other characters, I have to ask about their emotion or their motives too, because I'm hearing the story, but I am not them. I'm not sure. So why is Slava doing this to Sergei? Or does he really love Cassandra? I mean, he doesn't even know her, and I suspect, and you could tell me what you think. I'm curious to see what other people who read the book think. I suspect that Slava doesn't like Sergei. Sergei came back to Russia after the Soviet Union fell. This book is set in 1996. It's 1997 now in the story. So a couple of years after the fall of the Soviet Union, when there was a lot of chaos and opportunists coming in and doing things and, making their fortunes quickly at the expense of, the people. Okay, so Slava and Sergei are competitors. Sergei's is this, guy who came from Western Europe, returns to Russia, when there's more opportunities. But Slava also knows Sergei's big secret. So Sergei has a secret that's so bad that if he had told Cassandra before they got married, there's no way she would ever marry him. So he's keeping something huge from her that Slava knows about. So while Slava might have originally just been trying to stick it to him, you know how guys can be very competitive, like, haha, you know, I'm the better man, even your wife likes me more, whatever. I don't know. Guys do stuff like that, right? It's not flattering. I'm just, you know, this is a story, right? I think by this point in the story, he's actually concerned about her safety because he knows that he has caused trouble for the relationship, and you know, and that Sergei is probably teetering towards a violent incident. So, so Slava, he goes from being a jerk to someone who actually cares about her and is concerned because he's actually to blame for some of that. So, so I don't know. We'll have to see how it goes, but it's interesting, you know. So as far as drinking with Russians, yeah, there's no way I could drink. I don't know how many shots of vodka she had. I would be face down somewhere. She ends up vomiting and passing out in Sergei's lap on the way home, and yeah, it's not good. The scene is not good after that. He's not happy. The relationship takes a big nosedive after this, and they're kind of back to square one. So that's it. I like the cooking, the culture, and the language and the traditions. But they always say that whenever I ask anybody about tell me about going to Russia, they're like, don't drink vodka with the Russians because you will end up face down somewhere for the night with a poor recollection of what happened the night before. So I think that's good advice for the rest of us. I don't know. Feel free to put it in the comments if you disagree. I haven't been to Russia yet, so I don't have firsthand knowledge. So that's it. I'll leave it with that thought. You know, maybe we can all just try to strive for a little more moderation in all that we do, you know. And you know, if you're gonna have a drink, you know, stick to one or two, keep it cool, enjoy it, and don't go overboard. And but moderation is important for lots of things, you know, in life anyway. You know, and just, you know, pace yourself, and it's okay. All right. So next time I'll be back with something from chapter 11, and we'll see what's happening then. You must know that I'm leaving out tons of stuff that happens. So there's a lot of sexual stuff that happens on, like violent-y kind of things that happen, scary stuff. It's a very dramatic story. But I like this. This is good, and I feel like this is good for all ages. And if a child stumbles upon these videos, and nobody's going to be offended by anything that we're talking about. So, all right, have a great day. Be well, and I'll see you soon. Bye.